All right, put your gloves on, ladies and gentlemen, because it's time to do some data science. This course is designed as an introduction. I assume you've probably typed a few emails before, but that's about it. No math or coding background is assumed. So first and foremost, I want to kind of introduce you to the very broad concept of what it is we're going to be trying to do with these videos. Specifically, we want to be able to learn, assuming again you've never coded before, about how to make a computer interpret data. But we want to do that in a way that's reasonably easy and accessible, right? The goal is not to turn everyone watching this video into a computer scientist. Rather, the goal is to teach you how to use the vast library of existing kind of tools and techniques to interpret your data. So what we're going to be using throughout this entire course is something called Jupyter. So Jupyter Hub is to code kind of like what Microsoft Word is to writing documents. Jupyter really makes using data easy. There are a lot of different ways that you can use this. Jupyter Hub is one of many, but Jupyter is one of the increasingly popular tools and really one of the most flexible and easy to learn. So throughout this course, that's what we will be focusing on. Now, what you're seeing scrolling in the background of this video is actually an example, a set of examples of what Jupyter notebooks look like. You can see some of these are fairly complex, and these are examples. We won't be getting anywhere this complex for quite a while. But these are examples of what they actually look like. You can see kind of step by step what this code is doing, why it's doing it, and it's all kind of very transparent, so it makes it easy to understand and use. Now, there are a lot of different ways to actually install a Jupyter notebook. Jupyter notebook can be installed on your local laptop, just like you could in, with Microsoft Word or any other program that you're comfortable with. But in many cases, you can actually also access Jupyter through online cloud-based interfaces. This is important, so especially at large companies, because many large-scale data analysis techniques and tools require you to have a lot of memory or a lot of computation that would exceed what you have available on your local computer. But you don't want to have to, deal with some incredibly complex interface. So instead, what you can do is log into a cloud-based machine that is just like your laptop, except it has more RAM or more memory or more hard drive space or whatever the case might be. It will be up to you as you go through this course to choose either to do your own local installation on your computer or to work in the cloud. I would highly recommend that you use the cloud if you have one available to you, because it will be easier to configure and will have more resources available to you. Things like your computer crashing won't be an issue because you'll be working in the cloud. Also, it's very difficult to get support for installations on your local computer. There's only a limited capability of debugging. If you check the resources section of the website, you'll be able to learn more about what is available to you in terms of either doing a local installation or going into the cloud. Before you continue on, what you'll want to do is you'll want to go to that resources section and pick the style of Jupyter that you want to use and just ensure that you can log in. And what you should see is, to get to the next video, is just what you see on the video right now, a kind of logged in Jupyter interface. So as soon as you have that ready to go ahead and unpause the video and you can proceed to the next portion.
All right, so hopefully you now have Python installed, Jupyter installed, or you've logged in through the cloud and you're looking at a window that looks something like this. Now, yours might look slightly different. You may have some files that are listed here. You probably won't see this intro to data science right here. You may not have this running clusters conda. You don't have to worry about any of that. As long as you're looking at an interface that looks very similar to this, then you should be doing okay. Now, what I'm going to do in this section of the video is kind of walk you through the very, very basic principles of how Jupyter works, the types of things that you'll need to do on a regular basis. The first thing that we want to worry about the most is being able to create what we call a new notebook. Now, notebooks hold all of the code that you will be running. So you'll write all of your computer code within something called a notebook. And I'm going to go ahead and create a notebook. So to do that, we click on New up here. Now, very frequently, you may want to create new folder first. Now, keep in mind, your options will look a little bit different from mine. Don't worry about that right now. What we're going to do now is create a new folder. And let's say I'm going to call this folder, I'm going to check this little box. And when I check this box, you'll see right up here, it changes and I can now move it or rename it. I can also delete it. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this folder, and I'm going to rename it to Lab 1. Click rename. Now I have a folder that is Lab 1. Go ahead and click on this, and now you'll see up here I have this Intro to Data Science Lab 1. These are just folders that I created. You will probably just have Lab 1 up here. And I'm going to go ahead and create new. And then what you want is you should have something that either says Python or Python 3. So in my case, I'm just going to create Python Anaconda 3. Again, if yours just says Python, that's fine as well. You've now created your first Jupyter notebook. So you should be looking at something that looks pretty much identical to this. Again, up here, yours might just say Python or Python 3, but for the most part, this should look pretty similar to what you're looking at right now. Now, I want to give you a very, very brief walkthrough of what all these buttons do and how you can kind of manipulate Jupyter. Now, we're going to be using this a lot in the future. So this is just kind of the very first example of what I'll want to do. So first and foremost, let's click in this box. So this is called a snippet, and I can create as many of these snippets as I so desire. So to create a new snippet, I can go to Insert cell above. See, and now I have 2, or of course, insert cell below, and then I can have 3 of these things. I can also always go to cell, and then you can see these individual options for one given cell at a time. So you can run one cell, so on and so forth. And we'll go into some of the details of that here in just a little bit. I can also delete these cells using this little cut button right here. So I can remove these and get back down to 1 if I want. And we'll see why that matters here in just a few minutes. Effectively, cells let you keep track and just organize your code. So let's do our very, very first just small piece of coding. So I'm going to type in x, so I'm creating a variable, equals 1, and then I hit enter, and I'm going to go to a new line. I'm going to type in print, so print, that tells the computer just to print out whatever I tell it to, and then x. So you'll see up here there's this little save button. I can click this if I want to, and you see up here now it's updated to last checkpoint a few seconds ago, auto-saved. So whenever I click this, it will automatically save the file I'm working on. I can also, of course, go to File, Save and Checkpoint if I want to. And then at any time, I can go back and revert to a previous checkpoint. So you can actually go back in time if you accidentally mess something up, if you really need to. So I'm going to go ahead and run this one snippet. So you'll see up here you have all these buttons. The one that I'm most interested in right now is this run cell. So I'm going to go ahead and click this. And here we go. So we've now executed our first bit of code. So we now have x equals 1, print x, and we have printed out the number 1 to the terminal, just like we might expect. Now, down here in the second snippet, I can also type in print x. Now, if I run this snippet of code, I'll still get the exact same thing. So this x equals 1 that I put up here, it gets saved, and it still knows what x is here. So I don't actually have to redefine x in order to print x on the second part of the snippet. I'm going to go ahead and delete these 2. So again, I'm going to go up to the scissors button. I'm going to get rid of those 2. And now what I want to do is actually save this particular notebook with a name. So let's say I really want to make sure, so I'm going to do x equals 1, print x, and then I'm going to do y equals 1, and then print x plus y. So this is my phenomenally complex program. As you might have already guessed, when I print this, it's going to print 1 and then 2, right? Because 1 plus 1, as the computer has now told us, is 2. So I want to save this. I want to name it and save it and make sure I can get to it later. So I'm going to go up here, and where it says untitled, I'm going to click here, and I'm actually going to save it as something I can remember. So the answer to 1 plus 1. Go ahead and rename this, and now I have this named Jupyter Notebook. So now that I've named my Jupyter Notebook, I've saved it. It should all be kind of loaded as we need it to be. I can go back to my home screen, and I can actually see where this file exists. So I click on this Jupyter logo up here at the upper left, and then I'm going to go into my Intro Data Science course. This is the folder I had created, and this looks probably very familiar. We now have our Lab 1, and guess what? the answer to 1 plus 1. So this is what is called our IPy notebook or our Jupyter notebook. You can see it's IPY. The reason for that is Jupyter used to be known as IronPython. So you can always click on this and you can pick right back up with where you left off. So this is the basics of Jupyter. From here in the next video, we'll actually start using Jupyter to load in some data.